Now, you might remember almost 4 years ago when the former UK Prime Minister Theresa May was dithering and delaying over Brexit. I had some fairly strong advice for her here on the program. I said then what I still believe now, that May's failure to deliver what the British people had voted for and get Brexit done was about as bad as it gets in public leadership. It's fair to say my comments caused a bit of a stir. They even drew the attention of the biggest name in British television. "I just watched this," tweeted Piers Morgan. "Can we make this Aussie newsreader our Prime Minister with immediate effect?" Well, no luck with that last request, but I'm pleased to say after a long wait, Piers Morgan joins that Aussie newsreader here on the desk at Sky News. Piers Morgan, welcome to Credin.
Well, thank you for having me, and I stand by my words. You would make an excellent Prime Minister of my country.
Well, to it, after I got your tweet, which went global, you have an enormous reach. She got moved on. Boris Johnson got the job, and he's moved on with the issue of Brexit. He's in a bit of trouble. Is he going to get through this Partygate affair?
Well, the trouble with Boris Johnson is he prides himself on being a bit of a shambolic character, and that's made him very electable. People like the kind of laissez-faire approach he brings to politics. He's different to most politicians. He's a bit of a buffoon character. But underneath it is a pretty sharp, calculating political mind. And he did get Brexit done, and that made him very popular in Britain with those who'd voted that way, obviously, over 17 million people. But then the pandemic came, and I think that his qualities, which were suited perhaps to a more peaceful environment, were a bit exposed with the pandemic. And I think that one of the bigger problems he has now is that I think in a pandemic, the worst thing a government can do is preach one thing to the people and then be caught doing the complete opposite themselves. And this Partygate scandal that's enveloped the country basically boils down to the fact that Boris Johnson and his team at number 10 Downing Street issued draconian lockdown rules for the whole country, which meant people couldn't see their dying relatives in hospital, for example. And at the same time, they were having over a dozen parties, illegally in most cases, inside number 10, some of which Boris Johnson went to. And I think it stinks. I think it was rank hypocrisy. I think it blows a hole in the credibility of a government when you preach one thing and lay down laws to people, which are very unpopular laws, but the country went along with it in the main. And then you find out the people in charge are doing the complete opposite. So he's hanging on. He's not gone yet. And the thing about politics, and I'm sure that your own Prime Minister here, Scott Morrison, is thinking the same thing tonight, is that events happen that can change a whole narrative of a premiership and an election campaign. It gives leaders a chance. This situation in Ukraine, for example, will give leaders like Scott Morrison, like Boris Johnson, a chance for a bit of a reset and to prove themselves as leaders on the world stage. And that can make a big difference. So Boris Johnson at the moment is waiting for the result of a police investigation. If it comes back and finds that he did indeed break his own law, I think his position should be untenable. But I would never underestimate his ability to wriggle off the hook.
Yeah, he is extraordinary. I mean,
he's a slippery little eel.
You only landed last night. You were in the country a matter of hours. You met both the Prime Minister and the Leader of Opposition. We're about to hit a campaign in Australia here in politics. You're a shrewd judge of character. What did you make of our two?
Well, very different personalities. You know, Scott Morrison's very sort of outgoing. He's man of the people kind of shtick that he has. I thought Albanese was, more studious perhaps in the way he comes over. Very confident that he's going to win, and the polls show him ahead at the moment. But I would urge caution, I think, from Albanese, because I think this is not over yet. It's obviously a very close election. Most of the recent elections in Australia, my understanding, have been reasonably close, with some exceptions. And I think that it will come down to the next few weeks. I do think that Scott Morrison, he's got a very strong position about China and about adversaries around the world. This could be the kind of news event in Ukraine where he can show his mettle as a strong leader on the foreign stage. That will inevitably, because it always does, probably help him with the domestic electorate. So I think that if I was the Labour Party right now, I would be quite concerned about the potential benefit politically of all this unrest in the Ukraine and Russian aggression and potential Chinese interference in some way, with how that may actually assist Scott Morrison with any election campaign that comes up.
You already had a big profile, but by God, it went global times 10 on the issue of woke and your determination to take on the cancel culture. You were cancelled, but you've been uncancelled. We'll get to what's coming for Australians pretty soon. We were talking last night. You are utterly confident that if we take this head on, we can beat the woke world.
Well, look, we're supposed to live in democracies. Australia, America, the UK, we are supposed to be the great democracies of the world. There's something democratic about this woke cancel culture madness that's going on, where you have a small group of people who've just taken it upon themselves that they're going to dictate to the rest of us how we lead our lives, what we're going to find funny, what statues we're going to admire or not, what we're going to wear, what we're going to look like, how we're going to talk, how we're going to think. And this is a kind of fascist, illiberal liberalism at large. And I've been watching this happening for the last few years, thinking this is complete madness. Who's going to stop this? And I've decided it's going to be me. So I'm going to cancel the cancel culture. I'm going to take these ultra woke lunatics on head on, and I'm going to point out to them, in a democracy, it's not about the right to have a freedom of speech where only your view is the acceptable one, and anyone who doesn't have that view has to be shamed and vilified and then cancelled. Actually, what freedom of speech means is listening to somebody whose views are completely opposite to yours, but respecting their right to have a different opinion, and at the end of it, in good Aussie or Brit style, go and have a beer with someone who totally disagrees with you about everything. Because that's actually what a democratic society should be about. It's not about one view being the only view that's allowed. And look, you and I, I'm sure, would disagree about a number of things.
Sure we would.
But it doesn't mean we can't
we can be civil.
Doesn't mean we can't be friends. Doesn't mean we can't have a good debate. Doesn't mean we can't argue the points and agree and disagree about certain things. And then we can walk away and have a glass of wine or a beer. That is what I would like to see society go back to. I think the sort of woke, fascist illiberalism has been incredibly damaging to society. It's made people not want to say what they think, not to speak their own minds, not to give opinions. And I'm very opinionated and I don't intend to stop. But I'm not ordering you to have my opinion. If you don't agree with me, well, tell me. Let's have the debate. Let's try and work it out. Maybe I'll change my mind occasionally.
My viewers, I know, are waiting with bated breath to think, what have you got in store for us? What's the show going to be like? I think it's going to be a game changer. I hope it's a game changer. We need to have these debates in Australia.
Yeah.
What have you got planned?
Look, it's a global show, so we're going to be filming it mainly in the UK, but it will air every night in the UK, every night on Sky News Australia, and every night in America. So it's a pretty unique platform I'm going to have, and I intend, like I say, to cancel culture with this show. I want to cover the news in a very informative and entertaining. Hopefully great debate, great people coming on, great names and so on. But fundamentally, what I want the show to do is to be a platform for free speech and democratic debate and the right for people to come on and have their own opinion without being shamed and cancelled. Because that's the way back for society. And particularly when we come out of a pandemic where all our freedoms have been impinged for so long. The one thing people really want is they want to return to proper freedom. And if you want to have proper freedom, you've got to have the freedom to say what you think.
Are we going to have a bit of fun?
Oh, my God, yes. Oh, yeah. Now, listen, I want it to be entertaining as well. I want people to tune in every night and to feel that they're informed, perhaps educated in some way, perhaps irritated in some way, challenged, definitely, about perhaps their opinions, but also to have fun and have a laugh and to be able to go away from the show and think, well, I learned something. I hated that. I liked that, but that was hilarious. That would be a perfect show for me.
Piers Morgan, welcome aboard. We're thrilled to have you here. Thank you.
I can't wait. If Meghan Markle's watching, I'm sure she is. If you want to be my first guest, we have a bit of unfinished business. I'm available.
We call her the ginger and the whinger here. The ginger and the whinger.
We call them Ginger and Cringe.
Piers Morgan, how good is he? Can you wait? I can't wait till he's on Sky News.